Hello, welcome to Before the Vow. Before you get married to someone, you have to understand that they grew up from an environment. The parents that they grew up from have great influence on them. That is why most of the times we hear this saying that like father, like son, like mother, like daughter. It is because they exhibit a lot of characteristics from their parents. And when you meet that person that you want to get married to, it is very necessary for you to learn more about her background or his background. And where is that background? It is from their parental home. When we were children, we used to hear that before a child or before two people get married, their families will go and do a background check on them before, whether there are some negative behaviors in their home or some diseases and sicknesses in their home that they will pass on to the children that they will give birth to. So when they find these negativities from their background, it is likely that the parents do not agree to their marriage. Now, because of rural-urban migration and modernization, it becomes very difficult for people to go to their hometowns to find out a lot about them before they get that commitment. But now we can still learn a lot from their parents and see if the child is exhibiting some characters from their parents. When we come to the physical appearance of your girlfriend or boyfriend, you shouldn't be surprised to see that they will one day grow up to be like them. When you see that a lady's family, a lady's mother is energetic, even in her old age, it is likely that she will also become energetic in her old age. When you come to my family, you see that my grandmother looks 20 years younger than her age. My mother, she looks 20 years younger than her age. And with me, I look 20 years younger than my age. So when you come and see my mother, you know that, okay, by the next 20 years, I will look like my mother, or the next 50 years, I will look like my grandmother. If you marry someone right now and you think that she is slim, and one day she will become slim like the way she is, without looking at her background to see whether the mother is slim or not, or whether their families are all slim, then you might be making a very great mistake. When you are someone that appearances matter to you, then you have to be very wise to go back to the family and see what is there before you can be sure of whom you are getting married to. Sometimes some ladies, they look beautiful at this time, but you see that their mothers, their two front teeth is removed, or maybe the auntie's two front teeth is removed, or maybe their grandmother. You will know that it is likely that your wife that you are getting married to will also lose her two front teeth when she grows. Maybe for now you might not think that it could happen to her, but definitely in future it will, because that is the background. When you see that a father is bold, then it is likely that his son is also going to be bold in the next 10 or 20 years to come. So you need to look at the physical appearance before of the parent before you know that, okay, I see my wife in them in the next 2 or 3 years to come, or maybe in the next 10 or 20 years. I would say that it will be very important for you to go to the family to study certain characteristics that is exhibited over there. When a mother is always interrupting into the husband's conversation or trying to correct him anytime he mentions any word, then you will see that it is likely that your wife will also be interrupting your conversation, because she grew up in that environment and to her it is normal. It takes someone who is coming from outside the family to know that this is a negative behavior. But to me, that I grew up in that environment, everything is normal. When a father is a womanizer, it is likely that the son is also going to be a womanizer. If he had children outside marriage, then it is likely that your husband can also have children outside marriage. If your father-in-law to be was a womanizer and your boyfriend is looking like someone who will never do that, you have to be careful, because maybe when he grows, he will say that my father married a lot of women, or my father was like this, so there is nothing wrong with it. Have you noticed that sometimes you go and complain about your husband to the mother, and she will say that, oh, my husband did the same, so don't worry, he will change? Because that is the background, that is the environment that he grew up in, and that is what he saw. He sees it to be normal, so you see it to be weird that you'll be fighting for your husband, but the mother sees it to be normal. After all, the husband did the same, so if your husband is also doing the same, she'll just tell you to relax and he will change. Maybe your heart is not that kind of tough to hold these kind of rivalries that come your way. So you have to be very careful and study them before you say I do. If you see that there are some kind of communication patterns that are exhibited in your family, like say whenever your mother wakes up in the morning, she's always nagging, talking about the stuff that should be done in the house, then you should know that it's likely that you will also be nagging the same way in 10 or 20 years to come. We should not look at the years now, but we should look at the years to come, because as you grow, those things grow in you, and they will begin to come out of you, that you will not even notice that you are exhibiting those characters. And when you don't solve it before getting married, it's going to be very difficult for you to solve them when you get married or after marriage. When you see that there are some courtesies from your home that are always being expressed, like sorry, thank you, pardon me, or excuse me, or please, then you know that it is likely that you also be saying the same to your husband. So I would say that instead of you just ignoring about their parental background, you need to at least spend some weekend with them and see the things that really go on in their family. If you don't go there to study the parents, you'll be making a great mistake, because nowadays it is hard for our parents to go to our boyfriend's background or their families to do some background checks before they accept that the two of you can get married. So now when you go and spend the weekend there, it doesn't matter. It's not that you're just trying to impress, but you want to go and study them by yourself and know that whether you can be able to fit into this family or not. I remember some time ago, someone told me that if I had known that the father was like this, maybe I wouldn't have married him. What was the father like? The father gave birth outside marriage. The brother gave birth outside marriage, and he has also given birth outside marriage. That to him, he thinks that he has hidden it from the wife, but the wife has heard about it and knows that he has a child somewhere else. And now almost all the brothers also have children outside the marriage. Are you a lady who can hold those things if you hear that your husband has children outside marriage? When you saw that the father had the same, like that, you were not able to address those concerns and see how you can work towards it for a change. It doesn't mean that they cannot learn from it. They can address it and see the possible ways that they can not go through the same pattern as their parent did if it is negative. If you think that you are not ready to change and you want your partner to accept you the way you are, it is up to him or her to decide whether he can accept it the way you are, the way you are. Maybe he has the strength to hold on firm whenever those kind of negativities arises, but if he doesn't have that kind of strength to hold in, then because sometimes some people are very talkative, and it's not everybody who can handle a talkative. And when you see that thing in your wife to be's mother and you ignore, one day she'll also become talkative and it will become irritating. When you see that your boyfriend parents are like, whenever they are having a misunderstanding, in the middle of a heated argument, the father will leave the house and not even come back to the next day, or he will leave the house in the middle of a heated argument, you should know that it is likely that your husband will do the same anytime you are having an argument. So you know how best you can solve those issues before you get married. When you see that your husband's family or your boyfriend's father throws about his shoe anytime he enters the house, or pick up certain quarrels unnecessarily, or is manipulative, abusive and all that, you should make sure that your boyfriend finds out why he is manipulative and abusive. Maybe he grew up from his parents' home that he saw that the father was always manipulative and abusive. Then if he was able to exhibit the same character as he grew up, what shows that your boyfriend will not do the same when he also gets to that father stage? Because the moment children start coming in the family, then that's where you look like how the parents were looking before you got married. So anything that goes on in the home with regards to the mother, the father, the siblings, you should be expecting a similar situation in some years to come. That is why I said that it is very important for you to go to the home to notice those kind of behaviors, so that you will be at least having some first-hand information. You should be expecting those things before you get married, so that if you have to address them, you address them and look at the necessary steps that both of you can take, so that it will not happen in your marriage. Do not overlook all those things that you see in their parent, and do not overlook the things that you see in your parent, because if there are some negativities that you would not want to repeat, and there are some of the negativities from your boyfriend's home that he also not want to repeat. But how would you be able to say that I'm not going to be like them, unless you address it and see the way forward as to how you can break from that kind of pattern? If you see that your in-laws to be are always loving, they are caring, they are courteous to each other, anytime they are going out, see that the father has opened the car door for the mother and all that, then you see that, oh, this is really a peaceful home, and it's likely that mine is going to be like that. Some people, they can really stay away from their wives for a very long time. Someone was telling me about her story, that if she had known that the husband's father, whenever he has issues with the wife, he can choose to not talk to her for months unless she comes forward and talks to the husband before he will respond. Until the time that she will talk to the husband can come and sleep, then wake up the next day and move on with his life, do his errands, do everything, eat, sleep, come back to the room in the night and sleep again, because he doesn't care. If she had known that that is what the father was doing, during that time, maybe she wouldn't have married the guy, because the guy, whenever he has issues with you, it takes about a year, especially when you're not staying together. He can live without you for years or months, and until you call him or until you approach him, he will never approach you. It's not that he has a bad character, but that is what he inherited from the father. That is how the father. So she said that whenever she spoke to the mother-in-law, that my husband doesn't talk to me and it can take him days and months and all that. So yeah, that is how the father is. So she sees it to be normal because she has gone through it, and she wants you to also know that it is normal, so you have to go through it. Maybe you don't have the heart to go through that kind of behavior. If you had known that you could have studied them before you got married. Spending the weekend there doesn't matter. That doesn't mean you're going to impress them that I want to marry, or I want your son to marry me, that's why I'm coming there. You are going there to study the family, to see whether you can fit into their home or not. So what are the necessary steps that you can take to address these concerns and see how best you can resolve the negative ones? Is that you can ask your boyfriend to write the negative things about the father and the positive ones, and you too, your observation, you also write the negative and the positive, and you see the ones that he doesn't want to follow that trend and break from it, and the necessary steps that he can choose to break from that kind of pattern. Because if you don't address it now, it is likely that it is going to continue in your marriage. The same applies to the woman. You also let her write the positive things about her mother and the negative things, and the ones that you, the guy, have observed in her mother which are not good, and the ones that are good, and see how they can break from the ones that are not good, and the steps that they can take to break from those things, the ones that are not good. If you don't do that and you assume that, okay, I don't see it in him right now, it is likely that he will start revealing those kind of behaviors in the future. So don't overlook it now, because for now there is love. You have not lived together to know what he can do and what he cannot do. The moment you start living together, you will see that the things that you used to see back then in his family house, they are as he's expressing it right now. If you know that in the family they like quarreling a lot, they quarrel and quarrel and quarrel each and every day, and you have met him, he's not quarreling now, so you wouldn't know that is what he can do. But when you see it from his background, you will be expecting it, so that when he starts quarreling, you know that yes, you saw it some time ago, and you don't need to see it and ignore. You have to see it, address it, and resolve it before you get married. Other than that, you marry and you will regret in future. If you know that your heart cannot contain a womanizing husband, now he loves you so you wouldn't know, but check from his background and see whether his father is a womanizer or not. Or maybe there are some chronic diseases like hepatitis B, which runs in all the family. You get married to him and he will transfer that sickness to you, and you also give it to your children. But if you had known, done the full blood test, or found out from their family what is their common sickness over there, then you make your choice as to whether you want to still marry him or not. Other than that, you marry and you will regret. Don't let courtship just be like we are enjoying our life. Let courtship be something like studying each other, studying your background, picking the negative ones, resolving it, picking the positive ones, and see the way forward as to how your life is going to be in future. Other than that, you will just be courting and you enjoy each other, you get married, and things will begin to change and you will not know where it came from. You might say that my husband has changed or my wife has changed, but then maybe it is not like that. It is something that was inside him that he had not expressed it outside. But now that he is now expressing them, you will not understand. So before you say I do, make sure that you are aware of the person's background before you make that life commitment. I believe that today, whatever that I have taught you, you take that into consideration, that it is important for you to, one, learn about the person that you are getting married to, his background, the behaviors and characteristics of their parents, to be sure whether you can cope with such a person when you get married to him or her. Until I come your way again next time, it is thank you for watching and bye bye.